Welcome to Unit 2 or Module 2, where we're going to talk about persuasive speech. Now, our persuasive speech, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in class, but you start to prepare for, you need to make sure that, one, you understand what are the elements that go into it, and how do we make sure that we're convincing our audience. So, here we go. Today we're going to start with the persuasive speech elements. Things you need to know to be successful in the creation of your persuasive speech. Okay, well, first we need to understand that persuasive speeches are speeches given with the intent to influence one's listeners to agree with a certain point of view. There are three kinds of persuasive speeches: factual, value, and policy-based. And we're going to talk about each of those. So, the first one, a factual persuasive speech. This is a speech that is based on whether or not a certain topic is true and is supported by concrete evidence. Now, often, these types of speeches will question historical controversy, current existence of things, and make predictions. They're always supported by valid, concrete evidence, though. There are no biases included in there. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it is not your personal opinion stating, I believe that this is it because that's what I believe. That's a personal bias, right? This is the way we believe because this is what I was taught at home, right? That's a personal bias. There needs to be a factual evidence that you can back it up by a reliable source, something that is credible. That's a factual persuasive speech. Now, the second type is a value persuasive speech. This is one that questions the moral or ethical aspect of an issue. And this, obviously, is where a little more bias can come in because it could be based on your religion, the way you were brought up at home, or your own opinion that you just develop as a young adult. These imply a certain action, but they don't call you to take action. It's often a judgment of something that is ethically wrong. So an example of a value speech could be to convince us that corporal punishment is unjust and inappropriate. The third type is the policy. And so a policy speech, a persuasive policy speech, is to convince your audience by either supporting or rejecting a policy, rule, or a candidate. And this is where we see our politics take place. This is our senators and our representatives of the House and even our president who make speeches in an effort to convince a group of people to agree with them. There are three types of policy speeches. There's problem solution, or there's problem solution with a cause, or a comparative disadvantage of solutions. And so an example of a policy speech would be, for example, our current president, President Trump, asking Congress to provide him with money in the budget to build a border wall. That would be a policy debate or policy speech that he would deliver in the attempt of convincing his candidates or whatever his audience is to agree with him. And in this case, it would be the Senate, House, and the House of Representatives. Okay, so three basic persuasive speeches: factual, value, policy. Now, to make our persuasive speeches what they should be, convincing, we go back to Aristotle. And Aristotle had three modes or beliefs, and he says that there are three basic ways that we can convince individuals to agree with us, using ethos, pathos, or logos. Ethos is using the idea that ethics should drive your audience to believe in you. And what does that mean? It's a question of the credibility, right? So, for example, convince your audience using ethos by having a credible source, maybe a doctor saying, after my years as a doctor, this is the best solution to your hair loss. Okay, so ethics. Is this credible? Is the way that you'd convince your audience. The second is pathos, and pathos relies on your emotions. That's creating an emotional response from your audience. Think to those lovely commercials we see by ASPCA or the other animal cares where it shows the sad puppy sitting inside the kennel with the food and that sad music that comes up and it asks you to donate so that we can find homes for these animals, right? That commercial is using pathos to elicit the emotion of sadness and a desire to help these poor animals out so that they can get money from you and they can support their animals, right? So pathos, that's an example of that method. The third is logos. This is logic, being reasonable, making a comparison to something else, right? If your friend jumps off a bridge, you wouldn't jump off too, right? Therefore, if your friend smokes weed, why would you? You shouldn't do it. It's logical that that's not the right choice to make, okay? So Aristotle's beliefs, his three different modes. Ethos, is it credible based on ethics? Is this the right thing? Pathos, what do your emotions tell you? And logos, is it logical? Does it make sense? Here are some further examples of each of those. Some example statements from ethos would be, as a doctor, I'm qualified to tell you that this course of treatment will likely generate the best results. Or another example, my 3 decades of experience in public service, my tireless commitment to the people of this community, and my willingness to reach across the aisle and cooperate with the opposition make me the ideal candidate for your mayor. And a third one, just in case you haven't quite gotten it, if my years as a Marine taught me anything, it's that caution is the best policy in this sort of situation. All of those statements are using credibility, their past experience, their wealth of knowledge to bring truth or credibility to their statement. Okay, so ethos, ethics. Now, pathos. Here are 3 examples of pathos. Again, what is pathos? Pathos is looking for an emotional response, right? So, if we don't move soon, we're all going to die. Can't you see how dangerous it would be to stay? What emotion is that pulling on? The fear, right? Oh my gosh, we're going to die if we don't do it. Here's another one. I'm not just invested in this community. I love every building, every business, every hardworking member of this town. Oh, the emotion of love. You care for me. I'm going to vote for you. And the third one, there's no price that can be placed on the peace of mind. Our advanced security systems will protect the well-being of your family so you can sleep soundly at night. Playing on my emotions of security and safety and my love for my family. Sign me up. Okay, our next example would be those of logos. And again, logos is being logic. Here are 3 examples. It's a matter of common sense that people deserve to be treated equally. The Constitution calls it self-evident. Why then should I be denied a seat because of my disability? Yeah, that makes sense. Why would you? Everyone is equal. Second one, more than 100 peer-reviewed studies have been conducted over the past decade, and none of them suggest that this is an effective treatment for hair loss. Well, that makes sense. If you've done over 100 studies and they all show that it's not effective, obviously that must be true. That's logical. And the last one, history has shown time and again that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Okay, again, drawing on history. Logical sense, nothing has changed. Okay, so those are the 3 types of persuasive speeches and the 3 modes that you can use when you are trying to convince someone. Now, how do we add credibility to any of those 3 that we would choose? Regardless whether you're doing factual, whether you are doing value or policy speech, you need to add credibility, and that comes from citations. Yes, I said the nasty word, citations. So, you need to learn in speech how to add credibility, and that is by adding verbal citations. You have learned a whole lot about MLA citations in your writing when you create an essay. This is a verbal citation because your speech is being given verbally. Here are 3 example statements that you could put in your essay that you write up and then you would use to say in your speech. According to, ... or as found in an article published by, or studies by the University of Idaho show, ... If you don't give me a verbal citation, it means that you're stating an opinion, not a fact. We, as the audience, need to know where you are getting your information so that the credibility is given to you. And regardless what point you're trying to share, we know that this isn't just a high schooler with an opinion that he's sharing. Okay, you are sharing your opinion, but to make us want to believe what a high schooler in Fruitland, Idaho believes, we want to know that others are on your side too, right? So that's where the verbal citations come in. Okay, so here's an example. History.com, because all of you go there. I know you do. You can claim that you don't, but I know that you do, especially when we did History Day. Let's say I wanted to do a speech on lowering the voting age, and I thought it was important. Well, the 26th Amendment is what kind of guarantees our voting age. So, for example, if I click on history.com, and it takes me to a website, it's going to give me, here, let's actually click on it, shall we? History.com, dun, dun, dun. Oh, look at this beautiful website. Okay, of course, a .com is not the best choice for a resource, and why is this? Does anyone remember? I'll give you a clue. It's because this is a commercial website, so they are being paid by someone to produce this, and there's ads on here and things like that. Ideally, we want something from a university or a government website or something that we know is credible. We'll go ahead and go with history.com because it works for my purposes today. So let's say, here we go, history.com, and I said I want to talk about the 26th Amendment, which is the voting right. I'm going to go ahead and do a search, and we're going to say voting age. Bam. What do we get? Let's do, I get nothing. Oh, no, there it is. 26th Amendment. Do I want this one? I want this one. Voting age lowered, because really that's probably what I would be talking about, don't you think? So let's do. We're going to look at this. Voting age lowered. Okay, yeah. Nixon. I'm going to scan it real quick. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Is there more, though? Is there more to this story? See, ads, thankyou.com. Don't want you right now. Not enough. Not enough. I'm going to go back. Let's try this one. Oh, I like the picture. That's a nice primary source, something from that time period. Oh, good. Okay, long debate over lowering the age. This is good. I'm liking what I see. Are you following along with me? Here we go. I'm going through. I'm just kind of scanning here, skimming the page for things that I might like. Okay, let's say there is a quote in here that I want to use. For example, oh my gosh, look at these ads. Hate.com, drive me crazy. But look at this. So Jennings Randolph, then a Democratic congresswoman from West Virginia, introduced federal legislation to lower the voting age. I like this. This is interesting. It was the first of 11 times that Randolph, who was later elected to the Senate, would introduce such a bill in Congress. Okay, so that tells me that it took 11 times before Congress was willing to lower the voting age from 21 to 18. That's interesting to me. I think I would like to put that into my speech. So let's go back to what kind of information do I need to gather to make that happen, okay? So here we go. We're going to look at our speech, history.com. What kind of information do I need to gather? Well, I need to gather, one, the title of the article, where I got it from. So it was called the 26th Amendment. It came from history.com. The authors of the article, if you look at it, oh, wrong screen, sorry. If you look at the authors, it shows that it was written by, oh, so many ads, history.com editors, updated on August 21st, 2018, okay? So that's the kind of information I want that I'm going to put into my presentation. So I'm going to make sure I gather that. I gather the title of the article, where I got it from, who created or wrote the article, and the date it was published, in this case updated. And using that information, I'm going to use one of my starters that I gave you to create a sentence that adds credibility. So the sentence I would make for my speech would be, oops, wrong way. According to the article, The 26th Amendment, written by the editors of History.com, Jennings Randolph, a Democratic congresswoman from West Virginia, was the first to introduce legislation to lower the voting age to 18. It would take him 11 times to get such legislation to move forward towards an amendment. Okay, so I paraphrased with the facts that I wanted, but there I cited my source. I told them where I got it from, when it was updated or published, and who wrote it. Okay, a lot of information. Let's look at a second example. Let's say I wanted to use a graphic in a speech later on. Not necessarily for persuasive, maybe for informative or tribute, whatever it might be. Let's say, okay, well, I want an EDU, EDU being a university or a college. MIT, I did a quick search already. If I click on MIT's website, and they have this great article about voter turnout and helping us understand who it is that's showing up. And oh, I'm liking this information, scanning. Ooh, that's a fun graphic. Okay. Oh, that's a nice graphic too. I might use, oh, look, it gives me the source. So I could use it, and that would be my source. I'm going to keep scrolling though. Oh, good facts, good figures. Voter turnout over time by race, that's interesting. Oh, hey, I like this source. The U.S. Bureau, Census Bureau. Now, that's a U.S. government agency that surveys the entire population to find out information about them. And we're about to do another one here coming up. So I'm going to click that link and see what it gives me. Okay, so here's the .gov website. That's nice. And visualizations. Ooh, hey, that looks fun. We're going to click on that one, please. And nope, don't care. Look, voting age by population. Okay, can we get a little more appropriate and accurate for whole Idaho? Heck yeah, let's look at this. Oh, now isn't that beautiful? Look at this. Citizen voting age population for Idaho. 18 years and over, 18 to 29. Oh, see, this is great information. Here, I could download the graphic if I wanted. It's a JPEG if I want a photo, or as a PDF. It gives me the sources, so I know what to cite. Okay, I love this. So let's say I want to put this into my presentation. It's going to be displayed, we assume, but maybe it's not. Maybe I just want to reference what it is that it's telling me. Well, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I need to gather my information. The information, of course, showing us that this is produced by the U.S. Census Bureau. There's no authors necessarily because it's a survey that millions of people took. So these are the results from it. And it was published November 15th, 2016. Okay, so if I go here and I look, then I know if I were to pull that in, I could write a sentence that is a verbal citation giving the information by saying something like, as shown in this graphic released by the United States Census Bureau in November of 2016, 21.4% of the voters were from citizens aged 18 to 29 years of age. Okay, that's pretty awesome and a nice strong statement because I'm giving my source. Whatever you do, boys and girls, whatever facts you are giving, you need to make sure that you cite it. Give me a verbal citation in your persuasive speech, in your debate, in your informative speech, so that I know you know what you're talking about and there are other people on your side. Okay? In review, whether your persuasive speech is factual, value, or policy-based, you want to use the best approach to convince your audience to agree with you. Determine which of Aristotle's ethos, pathos, or logos will work in your favor and tailor your speech to use that method. You need to know what's the age range, the educational background, maybe where they're from. All those things will determine which method is best to use. Always, always, always cite your sources. Tell us where you got your facts so that you can back up your opinion and make it stronger. That is what I need you to do, and that's what you're going to have to do over the weekend. Okay, we'll give you some time in class to work on this, but you need to make sure you are ready and prepared on Monday to present your persuasive speech. You'll get a little time in class, but not a whole lot, so make sure you work on it this weekend. Okay, you guys are awesome. That's it for this lecture. Next up, we're going to talk about, well, I don't even remember. Something. I think how to analyze our audience. That's what it is. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.